As one new season began with the NHL, another one is right behind it with the NBA. The next best bet is here with it all, plus some NFL on Monday night and some postseason baseball. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, episode 168 of the next best bet. And Brett, this past week was interesting because I'll say our episode records don't necessarily represent how well we did, because personally I've been on a cold streak, even though last episode I went 5-3. It was interesting. I did not end up winning as much as it shows on the podcast. If you follow me on social media individually, you would have seen some picks that just did not win with some of the early NHL.
It's okay, Higgins, because you won't see any green on my card. So, maybe we just sweep last week under the rug, walk away from it, forget about it forever, and be very thankful that the NBA is about to tip off. We're young in the NHL season, Higgins. There's some more ways for us to make some money here coming up.
I will say my pick of the pod did win. Your
All
Levy
right,
lock
there you
lost, so
go. Fuck
two and a
you.
half game lead now on you. Gotta break that cold streak a little bit. Let's jump into some beginners boulevard. Talk about something that's a little more popular, especially in the NBA, and that's in-game wagering, right, Brett?
Yeah, in-game wagering or live betting, Higgins, just placing wagers on an event as it takes place in real time. If you were a college football wagerer, there was plenty of opportunity to hop in on the Florida Gators in the first half Saturday, Higgins, and get yourself some great value. They obviously started as favorites, lost the game outright, but in the first half, we're down 21 multiple times, Higgins. So good opportunities to buy in if you believe in a team's ability to come back. Also, gives you an opportunity to see these teams, see what they're working with that day. Maybe you see an injury and you think it'll affect the line. Lots of reasons to place in-game wagers, Higgins.
In-game wagers can all be about timing. Sometimes the second there is a goal scored, like in the NHL, or a run, or some points scored in the NFL or NBA, you'll see some odd shift that might be a little more drastic than it should have been. You might be able to catch the sports book, and that's what we're always trying to do. So I like in-game betting. My favorite spots to do it, though, I would say, are probably baseball, football, and then basketball.
Okay, yeah, I would say typically I use it in football. I think it's most advantageous for gamblers in hockey. If a favorite goes down early in the first period or late in the first period, honestly, Higgins, you sometimes see the line hop a little bit and you can get back in on the favorite. Hockey's a long game, physical game. I don't necessarily think the line shift always equates with how much time is left in the game. I also think it's a less bet sport, so the resources that they send to hockey might be less than the NFL. They might be spending a lot more money making sure these NFL lines, are correct.
That's a very good point. I left out hockey in the top three I mentioned, but hockey is a fantastic live sport to bet as well. We'll get into our hockey bets in a little bit, Brett. Let's talk about some Monday night. We're going to talk about the football in a second, but first we're going to talk about some Monday night baseball, the ALCS Game 3 between the Astros and the Red Sox. Now, this is going to be an interesting matchup where we've seen it go 1-1 so far. Lots of runs, but Brett, that was on a back-to-back night where I think the bats were just feeling themselves, were in a groove, carried it into the next night. Then they had a travel day, had a day off, into game 3 today, and you know what? I think it's gonna be an under on Monday night in this game. What about you?
Yeah, I don't really have a good feel for this one, Higgins. I guess I'm kind of rooting for the Red Sox. If you want to say rooting, I enjoy watching baseball games at Fenway in general. So the more baseball games in Fenway, sign me up. But I think Eduardo Rodriguez versus Urquidy, even pitching matchup. I think both these lineups are pretty even. I don't think anyone can get Kike Hernandez out. So you're probably looking at a few runs for Boston automatically. And I mean, like I said, this game will be in Fenway, Higgins. So Yordan Alvarez bat is live. Carlos Correa's bat is live. Yuli Gurriel's bat is live. Kyle Tucker's been unbelievable all season. Maybe he hits one out to right field as a lefty. So yeah, I think there's a lot of live home run bats in this game, Higgins. It's hard for me to truly say what I think, which I think is why I'm staying off of it. I've enjoyed the postseason. A lot of great baseball. We've got a 2-2 game in the NLCS right now, Higgins. So it's just been fun. I guess my general takeaway is there's been a lot of runs, and then in all the big games, the game sevens, the game ones, I feel like those games have been low scoring. But 2 through 5 or 2 through 4 of a series, because we haven't had any game sevens yet. 2 through 4 have generally been pretty free flowing. Teams have been able to score runs, get runs across the plate. So I guess I would lean over, but nothing strong on that.
Yeah, I'm taking it at under 9 where it's minus 105. It could be moving to 9.5 by Monday when people wake up and listen to this potentially. I'm going to grab it at the 9 where it's at though because it's interesting. Game 1, there was 9 runs. Then game 2, there was 14 runs. Now they're back into Fenway, different ballpark, playing outside in the winter. Always interesting to see. Not, it's not the winter. I'm sorry, I'm jumping way ahead. It's October. Playing outside in October compared to inside in Houston in October. I love it when there's a northern team in baseball that is involved. And you know what? Home teams have had a tremendous run this postseason. They're actually 15-7, not including Sunday night's game, because as you said, Brett, that's 2-2. But home teams this postseason are 15-7. So I'm also going to be jumping on the Red Sox money line because it's only at minus 120 as of Sunday night. And who knows where that's going to be on Monday as more action comes onto this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think everything you said is fair, Higgins. And like I said, I don't really have a strong take, so I will be rooting for you and that under to cash.
I said Monday night a little bit earlier. Let's shift into the NFL and talk about Monday night football between the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. Brett, this was supposed to be a high profile game, at least when it was scheduled, put on the calendar at the beginning before the season, but the Tennessee Titans defense was the biggest question mark coming into this season, and that question mark is still looming. There's been some very interesting games for this Tennessee Titans team. I don't know if they can stop a Buffalo Bills squad that just beat the Chiefs. So I'm going to be backing Josh Allen and the Bills -6 at minus 110.
All right, fair enough, Higgins. I think the Bills would be the side I would be on as well if I were betting this game. But as I just saw, I am 0-4 on football games this weekend, so no reason to risk my luck any further. I got a big week of basketball ahead of me. But yeah, I think Buffalo, clearly one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. Not a believer on Tennessee. In fact, I think if you can get some midweek odds, Higgins, I might even look at the Colts to win the AFC South here, coming off a big win, looking good doing it. Maybe that schedule opens up a little bit. Maybe more games against the AFC South will help them out as well. So I would be fading Tennessee, Higgins.
Yeah, the AFC South could be wide open now. Very interesting. Even the Colts have not performed fantastic out the gate. They are just 2-4 so far this year. It'll be an interesting Monday night game for a Titans team that has to prove a lot. One other spot that I was going to say, Brett, though, I'm leaning on the under in this game. And that's mainly because the Bills' defense is very good. I don't know if they can stop Derrick Henry, but they can stop Ryan Tannehill with that secondary for sure. So I don't know how many points the Titans will be able to put onto the board. If the Titans defense can step up, the under at 53.5 right now, That's 7 touchdowns. That's a big game. That's a big game on Monday night.
Yeah, I'll say this. Historically speaking, Monday night home dogs do very well. So, if you wanted to play the long haul here, Higgins, Tennessee might be the side, and you just take your home dogs on Monday Night Football, which historically come through at over 52, over 53%. So, long term, you'll be a winner doing that strategy.
All right. All right. Well, let's talk about a game where, Brett, you were very nearly a winner. Shift into some money line magic because the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots, you nearly called it last episode.
Oh yeah, what was my call? I'd love to know what I almost
Well,
called, but
you
I was on New England, so you could say I thought it would be close, I guess.
you said you thought this could potentially be a trap game. Didn't go over to the money line, but you took the Patriots at +3.5. I think you said this is basically a game that the sports books want to say they expect the Patriots to win, but they can't because of what the line is at. So it was very interesting. The Cowboys coming down the stretch, they were down 3 after a 75-yard play between Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne, plus a 2-point conversion, put the Patriots up 29-26 late in the fourth.
Yeah, Higgins, just going back to what you were saying, the spread going into this one at 3.5. Again, I think we spoke about it going into the episode, but if you had asked me last Sunday night, right before the spread came out or whatever, what I thought this game would open at, I would have put it closer to 7.5, 8.5. So when you see something like that, someone at the sportsbook is begging you to take Dallas. And I think, there was a small period of time here, Higgins, about 2 minutes and 11 seconds, where us Patriot backers were feeling very good. But Dak was going to get a drive, put him into field goal range, and send this thing into overtime, Higgins.
And boy, Dak has he's come back from this injury and he has really looked amazing because I mean Mac Jones, remember that was a one play 75-yard touchdown drive. Not much of a drive, more of just a fantastic play there between Jones and Bourne. Then they got the 2-point conversion to go up by 3. Then Dak uses up a minute 51 of that 2 minutes that's basically left. He runs a 9-play, 40-yard drive that's capped off with a field goal to win or to tie this game and essentially send it into overtime. It's exactly what you needed from your quarterback in that situation, if not the touchdown from the full 2 minutes.
Yeah, Dallas had quite a few penalties on that drive that may have stalled it a little bit and forced the field goal play, but they convert the field goal, Higgins, and they actually start out on defense in overtime and get the stop in New England against New England's offense. This game had been back and forth in the fourth. I thought whoever was getting the ball first in overtime was going to win, but Higgins, I was not a winner this weekend.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, they get the ball after the New England Patriots punt in overtime, and Dak just marches right down the field, 7 plays, 4 minutes, 80 yards, capped off with a 35-yard touchdown pass to CD Lamb, which, I mean, I'm sorry, Brett, I like because I have CD on a fantasy team,
I have them on all
but
mine.
as a Giants fan, it kills me to say I like a Cowboys player in a sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, CeeDee Lamb was absolutely must draft in fantasy for me. I targeted him in all my drafts, walked away with him in all my drafts. Like, I was not letting someone draft CeeDee Lamb higher than me. I was taking him too high. You know what I mean? So that was going to be, my flaw. I was going to sink or swim with the Cowboys. In my opinion, number one weapon. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. And he showed up today, Higgins. He had 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the game winner. He was Dak's go-to guy in the fourth quarter, putting up a lot of his numbers in the fourth. So Yeah, I mean, big time players make big time play, Higgins, and CeeDee Lamb may be evolving into that big time player.
It's just unfortunate for you, though, at plus 3.5 because Dallas has the ball at New England's 35. A field goal for them does win it at this point because New England's already had the ball in overtime. You'd hope they just play it safe. They let Ezekiel Elliott just keep eating a little bit or something. But a pass to the deep right to CeeDee Lamb, touchdown, and plus 3.5 does not hit because the Cowboys win by 6 in this one. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, Higgins, I wasn't texting you unfortunately during this game, but I I knew with about 3 minutes left in the regulation in this one. I said this one the spread's not even coming into play here. This is ending on a touchdown in overtime. It just depends who gets the ball first. Obviously, New England wasn't able to convert, but my general thesis comes through as CeeDee Lamb scores that touchdown. Spread doesn't really come into play, but you're right, Higgins. There were definitely some people out there more optimistic than me, thinking, oh, the Cowboys will just kick it. Because clearly, if you've watched football over the last 2 weeks, Higgins, no one's just kicking it.
Nope, no one's
Yeah,
just kicking it
that
because a lot of people are missing it.
a lot of misses, a lot of misses. I just did not feel like this one was ending in a field goal. There's no way Mike McCarthy, who's watched football the last 2 weeks, felt good about kicking with the game on the line. I've seen so many missed kicks with the game on the line, Higgins. So many missed kicks going into halftime. Like, just unbelievable.
It's hard to trust the kicker, and it's hard for the kicker when it's hard to trust the kicker. But the kicker is today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast, The Next Best Bet, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Now, Brett, we still have the beginning of the NHL season that has just recently started, and we're going to hop into Monday night's games right now. Just 4 games to pick from. Seattle's continuing their road series. They're going to Philadelphia on Monday. I can't bet on that game because of being a Flyers fan, I'm going to stay away. I was looking at their Tuesday game against the Devils, but I can't bet a team that's playing back-to-back road games like that. Not right now. So Monday night, I'm looking at the Ducks and the Flames. And what I'm going to do is I'm waiting till Monday to hear about John Gibson. He's listed as day-to-day the goalie for the Anaheim Ducks. And if he is going to be returning in this game, then I will be backing the Ducks on the money line. It's plus 154 right now. I'm sure that's going to change a lot if Gibson is announced to be the goalie, but I have faith in Gibson when he's in the net for the Ducks, at least for the beginning part of this year right now. We'll see how he returns from this injury that he had, but the Flames, they're not playing too well to start early on either. They are 0-1 to start their season with a 5-2 loss to Edmonton. So I'm backing the team that at least already has a win on the board.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'll be honest, I have not watched either Calgary or Anaheim yet. I'm not very familiar with either team's roster at the moment, but I will say you betting against Johnny Hockey. That's a little upsetting for me. You got the nickname Johnny Hockey like Johnny Goudreau. Uh, you've always got my support. Johnny Hockey, Johnny Football, Johnny Basketball. I'm gonna root for the Johnnies.
You root for the Johnnies. I'm going to root for John Gibson, because he was in the net when the Anaheim Ducks got the win the other night. But like I mentioned last episode, Brett, and like was a theme in our NHL segments the last season, is Oregon gives out multiple days of NHL lines. So we also have some Tuesday lines that we got to look at. I like the Stars and the Penguins, 2 teams with some very high octane offenses expected for this season. Both, okay, Dallas's offense hasn't necessarily performed up to it yet. They're 1-2 this year, but their defense and their goalie situation is a big question mark. So the overs are going to be hitting, I think, over there. And the Penguins, that offense, even right now with the injuries that it's dealing with, like Gutzel and Crosby, that are out, they're doing fine. They're getting like 5 goals a game. They're crashing through these over unders. So with it sitting at 5.5 right now, I'm taking that before it gets to 6 on Sunday night.
All right, Higgins. Yeah, I think you laid out some good reasons to take the Penguin Stars over. I think you're right. If the Penguins are averaging 5 goals by themselves, 5.5 should seem like no problem. One thing I did want to point out, I guess, for our listeners is the New York Islanders, Higgins, are in the midst of a 13-game road stand. I don't. You call it a homestand. What do you call it? A road trip, I guess.
A road trip.
Yeah, a road trip. So I called it a road stand. I that was a mistake. Road trip is actually the word I was looking for. Good call, Higgins. But yeah, the Islanders 13 consecutive games on the road. They're 0-3 to start. They face the Blackhawks with Kane and Taves and all these weapons, Higgins. I don't know if it gets any easier for the Islanders. They might need a night in their own bed. Maybe they need a Devils game or a Rangers game coming up soon. But that is something I would notice because it's rough on the road, Higgins. I've done 13 consecutive nights on the road, but not 13 consecutive games. That is a ton of road games to start your year.
The Islanders don't return until November 20th. They play in New Jersey on November 11th, but then they have to travel immediately and go down to Tampa Bay in Florida before they return back home for a brief home stint, and then they go back on the road again. It's a brutal start to the Islanders season. You're absolutely right, Brett. That is a rough, rough way to start a season.
Yeah, 0-3 going into Chicago. Chicago home dogs. I thought was enticing, but I didn't want to pull the trigger, Higgins, because I'm a big believer in the Islanders team as a whole. I think they probably would be who I'd bet on to come out of the East because it's no fun to pick the favorite, right? But I think the Islanders could be that good. I just think this start of the season is going to be rough. I don't know where their first win comes. It could come at Chicago. They're favorites on the road, Higgins, without a win, but Blackhawks plus 105 is talking to me a little bit. And then you also pointed out to me, Higgins, that the Seattle Kraken have quite the road trip to start out their season. I know they've got the Devils on Tuesday. I believe they have the Flyers on Monday, so maybe that's a back-to-back there, Higgins. So
Back
just,
to back, short little trip from Philly over to Trenton, but
yeah.
I mean it's still road trip night back to back, and both of those arenas are pretty tough to play in, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough to play back to back, tough to be on the road to start your year. So, those are two teams we have circled. We'll have our eye on watching how they fare on all these road games, Higgins. So, just something for our gambling friends, our listeners to keep their eye on.
Absolutely, but Brett, I mentioned Tuesday hockey. Let's talk about what else starts on Tuesday. The NBA season starts on Tuesday. I'm sure that you are just happy as a clam right now that we're getting some basketball starting up again. What are you looking forward to? What do you think's going to happen with this season? Are there any futures? Are there any win totals or anything like that that you're looking at?
Yeah, Higgins, I think those are great questions. The NBA is kind of one of those leagues where it's very difficult to fade the favorites. You play a ton of games. At the end of the season, the cream rises to the top, right? So,
Yep.
uh, I would say if you're looking for a long shot future, the one I'm on is my guy Josh Giddey. You've heard me mention him throughout the draft process. You're going to hear me talk about him all season long. Josh Giddey plus 1600 for rookie of the year here on the East Coast, Higgins. Although I see now looking at our rundown that you got unbelievable odds out in Oregon.
I
So
was gonna
I
tell
may
you.
have to phone a friend here, Higgins, but I'm going to play a half unit down on this plus 1600. It's good value. I think Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, they're amazing talents, Higgins. Could they win Rookie of the Year? Absolutely. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying a guy that's got an equally as good shot is down there at plus 1600. So, do I think he's the only one that can win? No. There are a lot of talented players in this draft class. Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, the top two picks among them. I don't think Evan Mobley has a realistic shot. Too many front court players in Cleveland. But Josh Giddey sneaks into the top six there, Higgins. And I think he's got something to say.
Do you want to hear the names ahead of Josh Giddey in Oregon?
I'd love to hear some names in Oregon.
Well, so it's Jalen Green at plus 200, Cade Cunningham at plus 300. Then it's Jalen Suggs plus 750, Evan Mobley plus 900, Alperen Sengun plus 1300, Scotty Barnes plus 1400, and Davion Mitchell at plus 1800 before we finally get to Josh Giddey at plus 2500. So Oregon's sleeping on him a little bit.
Yeah, actually, Seguin's an interesting one, Higgins, for us to talk about. Another player that's played professionally before. He was in the Turkish league, which is an elite league to play in, and he shot the ball very well at Summer League. Now, he's on the Rockets, so I think if someone walks away from the Rockets with Rookie of the Year, probably Jalen Green. Also have another capable rookie scorer in Joshua Christopher as well, a highly touted recruit. Up and down season at Arizona State wasn't so great all the time, but again, big scorer on the AAU circuit. So you never know. Maybe the way the NBA flows, a little more prone to scoring than college basketball. Maybe it opens up some lanes for him. But that was an interesting name that stood out to me of the names you listed ahead of Giddy.
I agree. It was a name that I didn't expect to see there either. To have two Rockets players there. I mean, I think of Rookie of the Year. You got to think of a team that has to exceed expectations. The Rockets' expectations, I guess, are low enough. It's easy to exceed them. That a Rookie of the Year could come from there. But I want to see a team that maybe gets into fighting for a 10 through 8 spot in their conference, or a team that's even potentially in the playoffs where rookie's a key piece of it, in terms of what I'd be looking for a Rookie of the Year. I have other one other prop or future that I found that I really liked. So Stephen Curry coming back, he is the heavy favorite to be the 3 points leader this season at minus 180 in Oregon. However, he is not the favorite to be the leading scorer. He is behind Bradley Beal and Luka Doncic. So Steph Curry at plus 600, I think is actually some pretty good value as long as he stays healthy. I think, and maybe I'm just riding the hype of the fact that he scored 41 points in a preseason game the other day, looks to be back to his old ways. He gets his Splash Bro Clay back, which is going to take some of the defensive heat off of him as well. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors make an interesting push this year with a lot of their pieces back again. And Steph, if he returns to the old Steph that emerged onto the scene and broke those records, he's running away with that scoring title as well if he just smashes a 3 point record again.
Yeah, I think Steph is a good dart throw there. Leading the league in scoring is so tough to do. It really is throwing darts, in my opinion. But
Yes.
I think if I had a dart, I'd want it to be Steph Curry. Two other names I'd look at as well, and I don't have their odds up in front of me, Higgins. I apologize, but Trey Young would be a player I'd look at. Team is going to be
Ooh. Trey Young's
competing
plus
for.
2,800 here.
Yep, he'll be competing for a division title, so trying to get one of those top four seeds. And his team might be good enough to just be competing for that other home court seed as well. But I don't think good enough to be a 1-2 seed. So I think they'll be in play the whole season. Another team Similar situation, but I just expect a bigger role. Jason Tatum, a guy who I truly believe is going to develop into a top 5 player. I think he's already at that 7, 8, 9 range, Higgins, which means that top 5 is coming very, very soon, very, very quickly. Bradley Beal, unvaxxed. Again, not a scientist here, but I would just bet against that. And then I forget
Bradley
the
Beal's actually the favorite in Oregon, which
yeah, well,
surprised me for a very similar reason.
he's
Yeah.
the favorite in New Jersey too, Higgins, on multiple sports books. So people expect him to need to score for the Wizards to do anything, which I agree with that statement. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
might have to miss some games. I don't know. Not a
Tatum's
doctor.
odds to what you said. Tatum's at plus 1,000 in Oregon, tied with Joel Embiid. And both of them sitting right ahead of Giannis, who's at plus 1,400, which is an interesting name to throw out there as well. But if you're going to pick a single name compared to a single team, it really is a dart throw because you're betting on not just a player to have an outstanding season, but to stay healthy, to stay in contention, to be able to do all of these things. And so I agree, it's a dart throw, but we're each making a futures play. But we also have some plays for the individual games starting off on Tuesday night, don't we?
Yeah, no, I'm excited for Tuesday night. 2 great games: Nets, Bucks, Warriors, Lakers. Higgins, what more could you want as an NBA fan? For my play, Higgins, I'll say this: I don't trust teams on banner night. It's something that was often talked about to me in coaching. It's the team playing you on banner night is motivated. They just watch you get your rings. They're pissed off that this game is taking so long to start. They're pissed off that you're the champ and they're not. It does not always play out like this, right? But that's the narrative I've always been told. That's the narrative I've always been told from coaching as well. Um, so I'm just going to take Brooklyn in this spot. They are minus 102 in New Jersey. So slight dogs, I guess you could call them. Although both teams being minus money never really feels like anyone's a dog. Truly a more of a pick 'em.
Yeah, I
But
mean, they're truly even in Oregon, so I'd say you got better odds.
there you go, Higgins. I found an edge
Yeah,
just
found
by
the edge.
living in this state. How about that? But yeah, I would say Brooklyn in a pick 'em here is the side to be on, based on narratives. Higgins, not so much real fact. It's just people say it. I believe it. If the coaches believe it, if the players believe it, like I'm gonna buy into it too.
I understand that. I understand that. I was going to stay away from that game, though, because I'm not sure how much I buy into the ring hype, at least. And also the Nets being without Kyrie Irving still, and for until he gets potentially vaccinated, who knows. It'll be interesting to see how the Brooklyn Nets play without him, although they did have to play without him quite a bit the past 2 seasons still. I'm looking at the other Tuesday night game, though, in the NBA, Brett. The Warriors are traveling down to face off against the Lakers, and typically I'd be worried about a Lakers team like this that has a ton of new pieces, that is really new and unfamiliar with each other, except these guys, they are all longtime vets, have played with each other in different spurts elsewhere. I think it's going to work out really well. I think it's going to be really tough for the Warriors to maybe adjust, especially since they are going to be dealing with the same fault that they really had to deal with last year, which was they are still missing the big man. James Wiseman is still growing into the big man they need him to be potentially, but right now they don't have that guy down low. And so Anthony Davis, he doesn't have anyone to really contend with him except for maybe I guess Draymond Green, but that's not nowhere in size comparison. So I'm gonna back the Lakers at minus 4.5 at home in their home opener, in the season opener at the Staples Center.
Yeah, I think that game's going to be very exciting to watch. I'll say this, Higgins, and we spoke about it a lot leading up to that 1 game elimination game between these two. If there's one guy I don't want to bet against in a single game, it's Steph Curry. So, that's the guy you think is going to lead the league in scoring. maybe a nice little hedge play here, or maybe screw it. He leads the game in scoring no matter what, and his team just doesn't come through for him. And you get both wins there, Higgins. A nice little scoring bump to start the year, and a nice little 4.5 point cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard for me to transition from saying I think Curry could be the scoring leader to thinking the Warriors are gonna lose on their opening night potentially, but I really think the Lakers home opener, Staples Center, LeBron with Carmelo, with that full new unit and everything, and like I said, Davis James Wiseman, I don't know if he can really compete with Anthony Davis yet. It'll be hard. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be very interesting. But Brett, those are the only two games we have on Tuesday. We have a bunch of more games on Wednesday night, and we are on two games apiece. So we're on 3 games total on the NBA home openers.
Lots of games being played between Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. Everyone will open up their season. Yeah, Higgins, I think one of the big games on Wednesday night and not being talked about enough, at least in gambling circles, I think this should be a huge story. The Wizards travel to the Raptors. Uh, Bradley Beal's got to go through all his testing and be good, and got to go through customs and deal with all that mess. I don't know what extra protocols are in due to the Canada stuff. It's very confusing
It's
to
an
me,
extra
but
thing.
it seems like extra stuff that I wouldn't want to deal with. But also Higgins, and I think this is the biggest story. This is what I was hinting at. The Raptors played in Tampa last year. Welcome back to Toronto. Opening night. It's been a year since we've seen you. We didn't even really get to celebrate the championship season. That season was all convoluted and we went to Orlando. So, it's been like 2 years since we've had games in Toronto, Higgins. Just give me the Raptors. Give me the Raptors all the way up to 10, 15, 20. I don't care what the spread is. I get it at a nice, easy 3.5, Higgins. But I would take that spread up to 1 million because that crowd is going to be raucous. They want their team. It's been literally almost 2 years since a game has been played in Toronto that has taken place between two NBA teams.
Well, and we saw the impact that it had for a team like the Toronto Blue Jays when they finally got to return. They made quite the late season push in baseball. They did not quite make it to the playoffs. It was a very competitive AL East, but the Blue Jays were a very competitive team as soon as they were able to get back into Toronto and get back home. So I agree. I like that pick as well. I'm going with a different home opener, though. Madison Square Garden, Knicks hosting the Celtics. It's a classic. It's fantastic, and it's a revenge game because Kemba Walker gets to play against his old team. Not only that, but the Celtics are going to be playing their season opener on the road without Jaylen Brown. He's already listed as out. I'm going to be backing the Knicks, a young team that played remarkably well already last year and exceeded expectations. Now they got Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker, two veterans that can bring a lot of experience and composure to these two squads and to whoever's on the court at the time. I think I really like this. It's a -1, slight Knicks favorite. I mean, you look at the money line; it's -120 and +100. So I'm just going to take the spread -1 because I think the Knicks are going to win, and I want to take the -110 odds.
Yeah, Higgins, I like everything you said, but I wouldn't be doing my job. I wouldn't be providing our listeners their insight if I wasn't honest, right? And
Yeah.
look, I like everything you said. I agree. Kemba in the garden in a revenge game. I love that. I think Julius Randle took a great step forward. But Julius Randle was playing almost 7 points above his per game average over 7 years. So look, I'm not saying Julius Randle isn't better in year 7, right? I do think he's better. I think he's a improved player. He was second team All NBA, but maybe a little regression towards the mean there. Maybe a little regression towards the mean in his rebounds per game. He was about one over there, so maybe, zero point 0.3 rebounds less per game. He gets his hand on one less rebound in a few games. Uh, so look, I'm not saying Julius Randle completely comes back from this 25 a game scorer, but what if he's 22 and 9? That's still a really good player, but it's not the player he was last year. And I'm also buying big on Jason Tatum. So it'd be hypocritical for me to say they can't beat the Knicks. But that's
Hypocritical.
hypocritical if I said they couldn't beat the Knicks. But
I mean,
I'm
I picked
staying
Curry and
away.
the Lakers. Okay, okay.
I'm just a big believer, Higgins. I'm a
Fair
big
enough.
believer. I think three teams can make it out of this division. And unfortunately, I don't think the Knicks and the Raptors make the cut. I think it'll be Philly. I think it'll be Brooklyn. I think it'll be that team up in Boston, Higgins.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see. Also, Kemba Walker from New York City. It'll be his home opener in his home city. I'm expecting to see something special from him. And who knows, the young squad, maybe they can alleviate some of that pressure off of Julius Randle, who performed so far above those expectations, like you said. But Brett, we each have two other picks going on in the NBA. I'm taking a West Coast game, but it's a late night game, so I'll save that one for last.
All right, Higgins. Well, I'll take the game that no one's watching. Bulls at Pistons. No one's going to turn this one on, Higgins. I like what the Bulls have done over the last half season and off season here, trading for Vucevic at the deadline, adding Lonzo Ball, adding DeMar DeRozan, keeping Kobe White. Patrick Williams may probably not going to be able to play in this one with a hand injury. Probably going to miss most of the first month here in October. Sometime he'll be back in November. But basically, long story short, what I'm trying to say here, Higgins, is I like what the Bulls are doing, and the Pistons are still a few years away. They are now on the Cade Cunningham timeline, which stinks for our guy Jeremy Grant. Probably going to get moved this season at the deadline. Hopefully, he has a very good first half of the year, so a contender is all in on adding our guy. But Jeremy Grant's a good player. Cade Cunningham's a really good player. I like Sadiq Bey. I like Isaiah Stewart. I think the Pistons are building something. I just don't think they're there yet. I think the Bulls are a team that view themselves as a competing team, and they need to come out strong on opening night. They have no time to kind of gel. They got to start gelling right away because this front office was aggressive at the deadline. They were aggressive during the offseason. They gave up on developing projects like Lauri Markkanen, who I think ended up in Cleveland also as part of that front court mess that I hate. So I am a big believer in the Bulls, Higgins. I think they got to start, and they got to start strong.
Yeah, and also to your pick with the Bulls here, the Bulls aren't coming into the season with anyone on their injured list. The Pistons already have some injuries coming in to start the season. I mean, they got Chris Smith with a knee injury who's listed as out, expected to be coming back to practice soon. Isaiah Livers is out. Sadiq Bey is an ankle injury where he's listed at day to day. Cade Cunningham is listed at day to day with an ankle injury, but is expected to still be making the debut. And you also got Magruder, who has a hip injury and is questionable, listed as day to day. I mean, you don't want to be on the rebuilding timeline already coming into a season injured. I entirely agree with your pick.
Yeah, and I guess I was wrong. I guess it's Kobe White who might be out, not Patrick Williams. So I had the wrong young bull who was hurt. So my bad. But Kobe White probably not playing in this one. Patrick Williams probably playing. So that's good to know.
Yeah, the Bulls are hopeful to have Kobe White back in mid-November, is what the timeline is saying of the injury report. So, but they'll be without him. Picked up some pieces that'll replace him until he's back at least. I'm looking at a late night game of a game that's going to have a lot of people's attention on Wednesday night. That's going to be the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix, and I'm going to take Denver +6 here, Brett, and it's because I really liked what I saw from Denver last year, and they're gonna be having Murray returning, hopefully. And so +6, I think this is going to be a closer game. And we saw the issues that DeAndre Ayton had last year in the playoffs and during the season when he was facing off against a team that had an actual center he had to contend with for a full game. He has to contend with the reigning MVP. Jokic is going to be a big task for Ayton on his home opener. So it's going to be tough for DeAndre Ayton to be included. I think +6 might just be a little too big for this game. Maybe the Suns still escape with the win. I just think it's too big.
Yeah, +6 seems like a big number. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Murray could be back at some point this season. He won't be back for a while, Higgins. So this team will still be, featuring Aaron Gordon, featuring Jokic, featuring Michael Porter Jr. They're hoping he can take a step forward this year as well. I think Denver's really talented, like you said. The number 6 seemed too big for me to be on either side here. I like Phoenix. I like what they did last year. I think they were a slightly overachieving team. So I'm with you on this side, Higgins, but I'm not betting this game. I'm going to let you take Denver, take the +6, and hopefully you bring home a winner.
And we also saw what it looked like with the Phoenix Suns when Saric tore his ACL in the playoffs, and they're going to be without him for a little bit too. That's going to hurt their front court as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Phoenix looks like in their home opener, with that being their only person on their injured list. I mean, Denver, they have a few guys listed day to day, nothing too big. Everyone seems like they're expected to play. But there's also the whole COVID thing that people got to be aware of with the NBA because there's no mandates for players. There's some players with very strong stances against it, and so who knows? Some players might catch it. Some players might be out for extended periods. That is something to keep on the on keep an eye on this NBA season potentially. Who knows? But Brett, before we get out of here, let's jump into our Levy Lock pick of the pods. And because you went first last episode and we were able to break our losing streak, I was able to get a win, so I get my honors back. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. And I'm going with the Red Sox money line in Game 3 of the ALCS on Monday night. And that's a -120 play, and I really like those odds on Sunday night considering home teams in the MLB postseason so far this postseason. 15-7. That's not including Sunday night's game between the Dodgers and Braves because that's ongoing as we're recording this. But Brett, I love betting these home teams this postseason because it's worked out really well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good trend to hop on, Higgins. And speaking of home teams, the Raptors return home for the first time in like a season and a quarter, I guess. I don't know what you'd call the little bubble experience, but it's been a long time, Higgins, and that's the important part. So I would take the Raptors like, I don't know, up to -1 million pretty much, but I only need to take them up to -3.5 at -110. So I'll just take that and run, Higgins. Raptors -3.5. They take on the Wizards. Wizards will be good this year. They'll be entertaining. Probably right on that borderline playoff team experience that they were last year. So I expect that to continue. I'm not really expecting huge things for the Raptors this year. It'd be nice if Siakam can bounce back. It'd be nice if Boucher could play in this one. But I just think that game, that crowd, this one environment, you have to be on the Raptors here. Anyone that's on Washington just doesn't understand that Toronto hasn't seen their team play in over a year.
Absolutely. I mean, the return to Canada, it's something that can't be ignored. I mean, in the NHL, everyone was sectioned off into different divisions last year, so playing back north is going to be interesting there. In baseball, we saw the impact it had and how well it worked for the Blue Jays. They nearly made the playoffs, didn't quite get there, but they're a young team, will be back again next year. It'll be interesting to see the impact it has on the Raptors as it's been so long since they've been able to return and play in Toronto. Brett, it's been an interesting episode, 168. We'll have some few more picks before we have our episode coming out with our weekend picks, which is going to be Thursday through Sunday. This has been episode 168, though, of The Next Best Bet. Make sure to follow us at Next Best Bet on Instagram, at NBB Pod on Twitter, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel, where we'll have some picks between now and episode 169. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again next time.